I am very honored to be here and to present you some personal reflections about Swiss design research, SDR. When I was invited, I told Claudia, but I am no more head of research in my school head. I am now dean of studies, so maybe I'm not the right person. And she said, no, please come and do not hesitate to present provocative thinking about the situation in Switzerland. So my reflection today will be about, is there something like Swiss design research? And if there is, then I'll try to describe it by looking at where is it done, by whom, where is it perceived, received, is it seen, is it read? Is there a way to measure or understand the influence that Swiss design research might have on Swiss design education, on other fields of research, or on Swiss politics? So that's the red thread of my presentation today, more or less. So if I go and look where is Swiss design research done in Switzerland, I have basically three levels. I have the national scale, the regional scale, and the local scale. If I go backwards, at the local scale, the school scale, of course, in the schools, not in the universities. You know that in Switzerland, design is not taught in universities, but in Fachhochschulen. And there are 7 Fachhochschulen in the Schweiz, in Switzerland, and there is design research done more or less with funding, direct funding from the school. Then those schools are organized regions-wise. There is the Western Switzerland Fachhochschule, Northern Switzerland Fachhochschule, etc. And at that level, too, there are entities that are supporting financially or by other means, materially, initiatives of design research. And there are also fundings, Swiss fundings for research. There are basically 2 of them, the Swiss National Fund for Scientific Research, FNS, and the KTI, Kommission für Technologie und Innovation, which is a fund that was developed for applied research, not especially design research, but applied research, applied economics, engineer research, etc. And so design research in Switzerland can happen at all those levels and could also happen at an international level too. And we have examples of projects of participation of Swiss design researchers into EU-funded projects, but there are very few of them, and most of them, in my knowledge, do come from architecture more than from design. So, if I try to have a description of what is at stake, I see that we have 6 schools in Switzerland, in those regional organizations of the Fachhochschulen, where there might be 1 or 2 design research institute or research institute involving designers that are active. These numbers are not precise numbers. It's a quick view that I had of the situation when I browsed the websites of the school, trying to find exactly who is doing what, where, and when. And I know that lots of Swiss people are here today. Claudia Mahais, which is very active in Basel, in the Fachhochschule Basel, and they could give more precise information. But basically, that is a gross outline of what is happening. When I went to see how many projects there are to see what is happening in design research, I went to the FNS, the Swiss National Fund for Scientific Research database, and I put design and research into the browsing, the searching engine. And I got 38 answers, amongst which I could identify 15 design projects, because sometimes there are medical projects where the title reads design of a field study for disease number ABC, so that was irrelevant. And amongst these 15 projects that are in the FNS database and that are really design research projects, I could see 3 that emanate from what I call the normal divisions 1 to 3 of the SNF, the rest of them emanating from special funding entities that were developed over time in the SNF to accommodate different types of research that were emerging. I will go back to this explanation, but it is interesting to know already that this National Scientific Research Funding Entity, SNF, has been evolving over time, adapting more or less to the situation that were emerging in the schools, in the academies, in the institutes, so as to find ways in a typically Swiss bottom-up situation to find ways to finance or support what is actually happening. So the discussion goes over and over about the legitimacy and the relevance of those adaptations, of those new means. It is an ongoing work in progress, but we can see that in those gross numbers here, that design research went into the normal scientific research funding through those special gates, and that the adaptation to the normal divisions, which are the normal divisions of the funding entity, is happening slowly, but is happening. And of course, doing that quick overview of what is happening, I was thinking that it should be a good thing to do in Switzerland to have, and maybe Swiss Design Network could do that, or someone could do that, to have a real mapping of what is happening, a precise view of grants that are granted, because there are also foundations, private foundations that support design research. So I think that if we want to have an image of what is happening in research in a country, this quantitative approach has its own virtue. It shows you something, maybe not all of it, but something. When I try to understand who is doing design research in Switzerland, I count something like, once again, in my unprecise way of counting, 100 people maybe. 100 people is the amount of people that are regularly present in such venues as today's. It's the number of people that are in charge of research, active researchers, or researchers that were active last year. And what I see that we have still a small number of doctors in design research in Switzerland. And this is a big topic for us. Our schools do not have a right to deliver PhD diplomas. This is an ongoing political discussion which has come to a new step lastly. I will talk about that in a few moments. But what I also see, and here I am a little bit provocative as I was asked to be, that most of the people in charge of design research in Switzerland did have their promotion elsewhere. Elsewhere meaning abroad or not in design. Elsewhere, disciplinary speaking or geographically speaking. So Claudia is an example from someone who had her PhD abroad. Anne-Catherine Sutermeister, who is head of research in Geneva, she had her PhD in theater studies in the Bern University, etc., etc. And I see some exceptions, like my dear colleague Martin Widmer, who is active in Lucerne, and he is an architect and has no PhD. But the people with whom he works mostly, some of them are in the room too, also are people that got their promotion elsewhere. So this strange way that Switzerland has to close its doors, as you know, to strangers, and at the same time to get its value from outside, it's really problematic nowadays in our situation in design research. I think it's a paradox that is really, really bizarre. Now I continue and I ask myself a little bit with naive perspective, where can I see design research? And I make this distinction between see and read design research. Do I see exhibitions with design research results? Very few. My example is the Design Preis Schweiz, which is a private organization distributing every second year some prizes, 5 or 6 prizes, and they have one prize for design research. And when they function in 2 rounds with nominees and then prizes, and they make an exhibition with the nominees. So this exhibition goes around in the world, and there you can see some design research projects. You can touch them, you can test them, you can look at them. The schools, the institutes, they make different exhibitions, manifestations during or at the end of projects, and some exhibitions have been done where you could directly get in touch with the results of design research in terms of objects, displays, images, etc., and not in terms of text to be read. And some design magazines, such as, for instance, Typografische Monatsblätter, which is a very famous historic graphic design magazine in Switzerland, has opened its pages for some design projects results, like, for instance, I will show you next slide, a project done by Rudi Bauer and a research team that was funded by the National Fund in one of these special doors that I was talking about just before. But I haven't been able to find any museum exhibition entitled Design Research or any museum department showing, collecting, archiving design research. Here you have the cover, the front cover of this special number, special issue of Typografische Monatsblätter in 2012. The project by Rudi Bauer and team was about the coexistence der typografischen Latein und Chinesisch. That is a long-term project that had many steps in which the question of globalization of culture and the implications for many signs cohabiting, coexisting, living together, developing together, going through modern, postmodern developments together was discussed through visual means. The research team was from China and from Europe, and they tried to develop in what they did a visual inquiry of what is happening and visual propositions with contents, of course, and it is purposefully that you cannot read what is written in Chinese, but the questioning of this modern evolution of many languages together was at the heart of the project. Then I come to the next question: where can I read design research? And all of a sudden, there's much more than before. There's much more to be read than to be seen. So I can go on the National Fund or on the Commission pour la Technologie et l'Innovation databases, and there I have descriptions of projects, I have reports of done projects. I can go to the websites of the schools or institutes. I can look at the schools and institutes publications, which are many. I can go on the Swiss Design Network website, which I did, and I was quite sad because I saw that there was no new news since 2012, so please. I've been very happy to meet with Sarah Haug, who told me that she is the new coordinator for Swiss Design Network, and I really hope, as Claudia said, I was a co-founder and a former president of this network, that it goes alive again, and that there will be things about design research to be read and seen on the website, but for the moment it's a little bit asleep, let's say. And of course, in Switzerland, not to mention other things that also exist, there has been this collection of publications by Birkhäuser, based in Basel, who hosted lots of translations into German of books like, for instance, Nigel Cross, or other books that were published during the last 10 years, let's say. So reading is not a problem. Here you have an image of the closest to my position today publication, which is called Hémisphère, and it's the Western Switzerland University of Applied Arts and Sciences, into which Head is nested. a research publication. It's a very magazine-like publication, not that interesting in my opinion, but it's a window to what is happening. And of course, it covers all the disciplines in the University of Applied Sciences and Arts, not only design research. Here you have another interesting publication, which I just received a few days ago, that is the result of a design research project that was done at the HKB in Bern, and two graphic designers that are active as graphic designers, independent graphic designer, Christine Zimmermann und Barbara Hahn, von B und C is their name. They developed this project with the school. They act as independent researchers with the school, and they are specialized in data visualization, and they did this mapping of atmosphärische Qualitäten des Räumes. It's the topic of the project. And I find this kind of publication especially interesting because it is, as was the Rudi Bauer example, not only a text, a rational explanation of a process or a rational logical argumentation, but a visual tool for thinking and going forward. Next question I had was, how does Swiss design research influence Swiss design education? And this can be looked at by a general desire, a general energy in introducing design research within the MA curricula. Every school has developed a way to introduce courses, seminars, sensibilization to design research in the master curricula. But the experience that is to be seen with the Junior Research Conference shows that it is a very heterogeneous movement. The Junior Research Conference is the gathering once a year of every student at the master level in design Abteilungen of the Swiss design schools. It was sometimes linked with the Swiss Design Network Conference and sometimes not. And this day where the master students meet resembles the Pecha Kucha of this morning. They gather, they present their projects, and they get in touch with each other. And we can see that I have been to every junior research conference except the last one, so I have quite an experience, and we can see that there is no common understanding amongst the school of what exactly is design research, how it should be taught, and how master students should embark in such an activity. You see that some schools go for inquiries, field inquiries, others are more keen to creating labs, experimental situations, others do completely identify design creation with design research, and others are very theoretically oriented. So there is not yet a specific, be it theoretical, epistemological, or methodological background that has been developed. So we cannot here speak about a Swiss design research in the master curricula. It doesn't exist. There are many researchers, positions, but no general characteristic of what is happening in Switzerland, no identity. Here you have 3 images of the Junior Research Conference website, a general description on the homepage, and then you can go to the database, and the database lists the projects of the students that were presented in the day, and then you can click on every project and you have the description of that project. This was thought as a tool for networking the students together, maybe helping them also to find friends that have the same topics than they have and work together, and as a general tool for information. Next question about Swiss design education, Swiss design research is this problem of PhD in Switzerland. Since we do not have the habilitation as institutions, Fachhochschulen, ein PhD zu geben, to deliver PhD diplomas, every school has developed specific contracts with universities or with other schools that have those possibilities in order to let their students, their MA alumni, go into PhD studies and to keep in touch with them. Sometimes it's a very formal collaboration, like the one happening between HKB in Bern and Uni in Bern, and dort Arne Scheuermann can tell us more about that than I can. Sometimes in the other schools it's case to case, it's a case-based collaboration. So one school, like for instance Hirt in Geneva, can have collaborations with schools in London, like for instance Camberwell and Wimbledon, schools in the London University of the Arts for specific PhD programs in fine arts, and at the same time another contract with RCA for PhDs in media design or interaction design discipline. The senior researchers in Swiss schools are a mix of university and applied universities background. We have not yet a clear profile of academic people or people coming from the practice-based experience. And lots, as I said, lots of the people holding a PhD have foreign PhD diplomas. So the model, the Swiss model for design research, will really come to an end or to something like an achievement when, or a first step towards achievement, when we will have discussed and clarified this question of PhD. And of course, the question of the professorial status within design schools, since there is no PhDs, is also a specialty, a Swiss specialty. But there are opportunities in the field. For the first time this spring, the KFH, which is the Conference of the Rectors of the Universities of Applied Arts and Sciences, has taken an official position saying we want to develop our doctoral studies with universities, and when there is no university able to do that, we will do it by ourselves. It's the first time they say so, officially. Universities of Applied Arts and Sciences were built in 1995. The first design university came up in 1998. So in 2014, the DACH organization takes it seriously that we do not only have to do bachelor and master, but also PhD. There's hope. And those special agreements between schools and foreign universities or Swiss universities, those special doctoral schools that are made in cooperation are also great opportunities for us. It's not only a problem. Oh, backward, yeah. Here you see the French cover of this official positioning of the KFH in favor of a third cycle, that means doctoral study, for the HES, which is Fachhochschulen. Other opportunities are interesting for design and design research in Switzerland, like for instance the fact that the main government agency for culture support, financial cultural support, Pro Helvetia, has developed a special program for design. So that's also interesting to see that this entity takes it seriously, that design is a cultural thing that needs support and that has a place, an identity besides art, theater, cinema, literature, etc. And what is interesting is that they have developed a mixed committee with people from the Commission of the Technology and Innovation, so as to have expertise from the Wirtschaft or from the more design or applied aspects of things. And they have developed a way to submit for projects. You can submit for a project design angel, for working grants or small grants. And this first turn in 2013-14 was for a total amount of £250,000 Swiss francs, which is not much, especially if you divide it into the numbers of projects that were selected, which get each one of them a little, very little amount of money. This is not especially aimed at design research, but it is something collateral that indicates a small opportunity, as I write it here, for design and design thinking and design culture, and in the package design research too, to get on stage a little bit more. Does Swiss design research influence Swiss economics? In Switzerland, applied research, which is the category that is basically used to understand the way economics and research work together, is strictly quantitatively understood. You must count how many new products, new financial benefits, or new jobs you will produce with your applied research if you want to be taken seriously. And the way the Swiss design market is constructed, this I take from many studies that have been done by different researchers about that, about the creative economy, etc., shows that it is small and mid-sized enterprises, not big enterprises, not so many big enterprises. So the investment capacity of the design market itself is not that big. So it's a little bit complicated to get into strictly quantitative understanding of how many jobs, how many benefits, etc. you produce with design research when the design market is so heterogeneous and with so little enterprises. And there are, at the moment, as there are everywhere, I think, big expectancies from the political side about creative class, creative economy. Everybody speaks about that all the time. I was involved in a roundtable with the Swiss Minister of Economics for that, and it was really incredible the way this was like a mantra, you know, creative class will save our economy, and it is a little bit problematic and caricatural the way they understand innovation. I will come back to that. So, National Applied Research Funding, CTI, expects that the market finances 50% of an applied research project and gives the other 50%. And this is very difficult to achieve with small and mid-sized enterprises in the design market. If you go to a telecom enterprise, to a hospital, etc., then you have a possibility. But if you want to develop projects with design agencies, for instance, then it's really problematic because this is a high financial investment that is expected. Second problem is that innovation is never or seldom understood in terms of social innovation. It's also always understood in terms of financial, economical, or technical innovation. Punkt. And innovation is never understood in terms of aesthetic innovation, of pure invention of new forms. This doesn't even exist. You see here the front page of the KTI website, where you see how innovation is like the great idea, the leading thing. And as I said, I was in this round table with our minister Schneider-Hammann, and the Fachhochschulen, we are under his authority. We are not in the Ministry of Education or something like that. We are in the Ministry of Economy. That speaks for itself. He has a very personal definition of innovation, which he takes from his entrepreneur experience. Innovation is what sells. Okay, yeah. So we see that we have quite a problem here with all this situation. So I will just jump to a more synthetic view of things for the last 3 minutes. In 2006-05, we had in Zurich Franz Schultheis, a sociologue, who told us in the Swiss Design Network about the 10 steps of disciplinarization. When an activity wants to become a discipline, How does it happen? And he told us the story for design. He took it from the story of the development of sociology, which emerged at the beginning of the 20th century. So I reduced the 10 steps into 6 steps that you can read there. And I want to briefly comment on what is yet achieved and what has yet to be achieved in the Swiss design research situation. So, the first step, we miss something. We do not have what we need. We have an activity and we want more. This has been taken in by the general understanding that design research is a necessity. In 1995, the creation of the Universities of Applied Arts and Design, Applied Sciences, was a step in that direction. And design was one of the first disciplines in this creation of the schools. So this idea that we have a new situation, it is done. The light is green. And then the steps of cooptation and self-organization. All those people that are active in this activity of design research, which is not yet completely defined and understood, begin to get together, to organize themselves, to network, and to create a situation that is more clear and more understandable, and that begins to be also a little bit of a closure. We can begin to have those that fit in and those that must not fit in. We have standards, we have frontiers, we understand what we are. And when we are organized like that, we go to step 3. We begin to legitimate ourselves and accumulate our social and symbolic capital. And that's what Swiss Design Network has been doing with quite success, I think, in Switzerland, gathering in its symposiums and through its publications, lots of discussion at very high international level since 2003, and really pushing the Universities of Applied Art and Sciences of Switzerland towards accepting the fact that there will be not only bachelor but also master curricula, and as I just said, also maybe, hopefully, PhD curricula soon. And then we come to the next steps, which are not yet completely accomplished. That's why it's an orange light. The step of self-reference and codification, this moment when the discipline really establishes itself, its borders, its canon, and its excommunication system of the ones that do not fit in, we are exactly at this point now. We discuss what is good, what is not good. Is a PhD the right situation? Should we have a design D? Should we have an engineer design doctorate? What is our canon? What are our standards? We are in this discussion. And this happens in symposiums. It happens in the Universities of Applied Arts. It happens in the National Fund, developing its several different tools over time, etc. The step that we are also in is the institutionalization and academization step. I will not comment on that. And there remains one more step to be done. When we will have accomplished all the rest, we will be claiming our corporate identity and our monopole of the situation, which is maybe a step that is not that desirable. This is not a special Swiss situation. Swiss think that they are very eigensinnig, but we are not. If I compare to 2 other situations that I know well, the French one and the Norwegian one, because I am involved in several groups and boards in those 2 countries, I can see that at different speeds and with different tools, each country is in the middle of the way. In France, you have this quarrel between universities and art schools. Where does the doctorate, where does the research happen? You have new initiatives, very interesting one, like this new Sciences of Design, Les Sciences du Design, a new peer-reviewed journal in French that will be published first in 2015 by Les Presses Universitaires de France. And in Norway, another situation, very interesting one, where there has been a pre or pro-doctoral thing developed called the National Fellowship Program, which is hosted in the schools and allows designers and artists also to have a 2 or 3 year program with highly paid, very well paid, to develop their own research, and ending with a diploma that will be a PhD when the thing is completely assessed by the government. What is a pity there, I am sitting on a board that is a little bit in charge of this thing, is that there are lots of artists doing it and very few designers, which are almost all of them are in applied research for the market in Norway. So it's a little bit a pity. So I think we do not yet play our role fully. There are design people and design research people. We do not know a design researcher who is a star, like the star designers that we know. We are not yet the experts that are called to the bar when the journalists want to comment on this or that. They will call an architect to comment on urban planning. They will call an art historian to comment on this and that decision. Why and why don't they call a design researcher, and when will they do it? And one of the main problems for me in Switzerland is that the general education, primary school, secondary school, has absolutely no idea of what design is and teaches it in Norway. So on one hand, you knit because you're a girl, and on the other hand, you do whatever you want because it's free thinking of creativity, and that goes nowhere in the direction of design thinking, and it's not supporting what we have to do. So I wanted to say much more than that, but I see that I have no time for it. So as I said in the blog, La Suisse n'existe pas. Ben Vautier did say it in 1992, and I can repeat it. Thank you very much for your patience.